All right. Takes a few seconds, but all right, here we go. Hey guys, let me know if you can hear me because I am here. Hey Brenda, I see you're there. I'm just gonna fix a few things and talk to you at the same time. I just went camping, as some of you know. I had no service. I had to drive half an hour to 45 minutes to get service, so I really didn't for 3 days. So you wouldn't have seen anything from me at all. If you missed me, I don't know if you did. That's cool because I missed you guys. So there, it's true. Let me know if you hear me, because if you don't tell me, I won't know. So I want to do a raffle that filled real quick. First thing, I'm going to do a raffle, but say a few things. The raffle is for the gold satellite, and I will pop that up really quickly here because it filled up. And as if you don't know, the gold satellite is $10 a spot. Oh, my picture isn't showing up, is it? Well, we'll see what happens. If it doesn't show up, we'll try again. Sometimes I just got to close this thing out and try again. But anyway, the silver, since you can't see it, it's fine. I'll try in a minute, guys. The silver raffle, the gold raffle is $10 a spot. And then if you win on the $10 spot gold raffle, then what you get is a spot on the $100 raffle. So it's a satellite, if that makes any sense. It means it's $10 a spot. So if you get a spot, then you actually get a spot on the $100 raffle. So it's $10 for 10 spots. It's full. But I got to figure out if I can get this thing to work real quick, guys, so that I can see my window picture. When I tried it out earlier, it was fine, and now it's being goofy. So you may still be able to hear me, but I'm going to restart this program. But also, I would like if you guys could pray for a friend of mine. And when I say a friend, I'm not going to say her name just because, she didn't tell me I could. But this friend of mine is asking for us to pray for her because you should be able to see my window now. Let me know if you guys can't. She's asking us to pray for her because she's got a husband who she's getting a divorce from, but he wants to put their child in public school. And so we need to pray for her and him about that. Pray over him as well, even though he's being difficult. That's exactly who we should be praying for, is someone who needs those prayers, and she certainly does. So if you could think of it, just, you don't need her name, just if you could think of, if you guys think of it, it's not something you have to put on your prayer list. Thank you, Gina. Those prayers can get really big, but if you can think of it, we want her to keep her daughter out of homeschooling, because she does listen to Red Pill and all the stuff that's going on with, public school, because she was homeschooling her daughter, and she hears these stories that go on with people getting their kids taken from them when they pull them out of public school, and that's a big deal. And so I'm going to quick do this. You guys can now let me know if you can't see this, but if not, it's on my community channel. I can't change it, won't change it. You can see the numbers and the names, and I'm going to do a quick draw, and then I'm going to introduce my guest. So, woo! And hang on just a second, and I will do the raffle.
They found the little girl's body in Oregon. The Montana searchers find body of the missing Oregon child. So there's another prayer we could send out.
Yes, and I'm in Montana, and I saw something about that. So if you guys didn't know, that's John, a.k.a. Revel, that's coming on with me tonight. And I will talk about him just a little bit more in a second. But yeah, he's right. I saw something about that post, and I didn't read it because I haven't had time yet since I've been home, if you can believe it. So we need to pray for her.
Gone, so
pray for her family.
And yes, indeed. That's horrible. It's horrible. I was hoping they would find her alive.
And it was just somebody that went missing, or was it a kidnapping? What was it, John?
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to turn out to be a kidnapping of some sort because a body was found, so I'm not going to speculate, but yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a rough time for that family.
It's awful. Death is never easy, no matter the age or the time or the reason, so... But
especially when people put it up on the internet, but that's not for today.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't have Facebook anymore. I mean, I do have a few other things, but at least I won't see if anybody talks about me. And real quick, guys, I'm going to...
Dr. Berg.
Yeah, as much as possible. But real quick, guys, I'm going to show this Alamo. I know you guys have seen it before, but I'm going to show it real quick because... I didn't turn this light on. Anyway, this is the... Don't forget the Alamo round, and I have two of these. So you guys let me know if you think I should just do this and like a flag bar, or this round two of these rounds or just this round by itself, because obviously just the round would be only like $3 spots, so it'd be really affordable, or $4 spots. And then if you like that idea of doing two of those, then I could do a little bit. Oh, I'll turn his sound up because I turned him down not knowing how his sound would be, guys. So I have the ability to turn him up again this time. But I have the flag bars still. I could do two of the Alamos. I could just do the Alamo, but I'll go with what you guys think also. And I will also consider my own thoughts. And I'm going to go back to this Windows capture so that I can do the raffle draw. And then we'll get on with the talking about things we want to talk about tonight. My screen. Back to my screen. Perfect. Okay.
Screen.
Yeah, go ahead and speak up and we'll see if you sound better. Go ahead and say something, John. And
Yo, Lolax.
They'll let us know if you sound better. So they're saying 2 Alamos. I'm good with that. I got 2 of them to raffle. So I'll do that after this, guys. I'll post it in the community deal. I know I used to do live raffles, and it is fun, and I don't mind doing that, but I have a guest on tonight, so I'm not going to waste any of his time. I'm going to do this raffle. So drum roll.
We're good.
Number 7 is the winner, John. That is... Whoa, I got to click back. I have so many open windows.
Number 7.
Oh, guess who that is? That's Red Pill 78. So our friend Red Pill 78 just won a spot on the main gold deal. So I'll message him and let him know. And okay, so you're still low on volume. I'll turn you all the way up, and I'll turn me down a little bit. But I've got him all the way up now. So if we're still low, so if you guys don't know, I've got Mr. John, aka Revel. He has a kill, like the kill box, and his name REVEL.
Yes, I am in the kill box.
He is.
Put me in the kill box.
He's in the kill box, and so I've just put up a picture of your name and that you beware. You got 660 subscribers, so let's get that up in the 700s, guys, because we don't need to be around those 600s. But there's his picture. There's his what do you call icon, or what do you call it, avatar type thing for YouTube, guys. This is on YouTube. There's his name. He's very fun to talk to, and very entertaining on YouTube, but very intelligent and very good at having conversations with me. Now, they say you need more volume, but I can't do much about it except for tell you to speak up. He's got a new headphone set, but it's probably a lot better than last time, I'm betting.
Yeah. Well, they usually say I scream, so it's like 6 of one, half a dozen the other. I can't win.
What are we ever going to do? It could be my Discord that has you turned down somehow, but I don't even know how that's possible.
I'm holding it up right to my mouth right here.
Yeah, I can see that because somehow you're even on video for me. Probably not anyone else, because I can't figure out how to do that. Just for me, they can't see it. I don't know how to figure out how to do that, but I'm working on it. I was trying that. Oh, let's see. Here, let's try this. I'm going to turn it up a little bit on your end, and they're going to tell me if they can hear you better or not. So tonight, what we are going to talk about, among probably many things, because this is what we do, is we just kind of go on and talk about things. But we're going to talk about aliens, or are they demonic entities? And before, so John, before I do all that, I'm going to show him a video that you sent me just today that I said, I need to show that, right? Because I thought that was...
Oh, the old school crow.
Yep, it's 4 years old, but it's appropriate, it's good, and it's only 4 minutes, guys, and I even skipped the first, 15 seconds of it so that you can watch this and listen to this, and if it's too loud, then let me know right away. If it's not loud enough, let me know right away. We have a small delay, and if John is louder... Hey, John, say something real quick, and let's see if you're louder to people.
Yo, old school crow 777. Any crow is good crow, yes.
Yeah, and I do...
As the crow flyeth. Yep,
I like him a lot. So I am going to play this, and hopefully people will let us know if they can...
With a light.
She likes him a lot.
Okay, here.
Okay, welcome to the Crow Discovery Project. I find so many things that I accepted as true my whole life that once I actually take the time to look at them for myself and critically think, I find problems. So let's take a look at the moon. Okay, so a bunch of people commented on the Menelaus crater comments that I made and showing the United States covering the moon and that thought experiment. So here's a different thought experiment. Menelaus crater is 15 miles wide on the moon, and actually one source told us it was 16. So I'm in Google Earth. I made this circle. Let's measure it. Us, in fact, a point of reference to do a thought experiment about how far the moon is.
I'm live on the air.
Down in this corner is your eye.
I know what happened, guys. It's my fault. I'm going to start it down here. Sorry I wasted your time for like a minute. So I accidentally muted it because I was trying to mute just John. And I muted the whole thing. So I get it. I'll start again. And John will try not to talk during it. All right, here we go.
Time to look at them for myself and critically think. I find problems. So let's take a look at the moon. Okay, so a bunch of people commented on the Menelaus crater comments that I made and showing the United States covering the moon and that thought experiment. So here's a different thought experiment. Menelaus crater is 15 miles wide on the moon, and actually one source told us it was 16. So I'm in Google Earth. I made this circle. Let's measure it. It is basically,
Google.
16 miles wide. So one source told us that Menelaus was 16 miles wide. I think I called it 15. But anyhow, this is equivalent to Menelaus crater right here. So we're going to do a little test. It's not the be-all and end-all scientific test, but it does give us, in fact, a point of reference to do a thought experiment about how far the moon is from us. Down in this corner is your eye altitude, or the altitude that your eye will be at. Let's see how high we can go before we can't see this red dot, which is identical in size to Menelaus crater on the moon, which you can detect with your naked eye if you have good vision or glasses on. Here we go. Up we go, up we go, up we go, up we go. And I can barely detect that dot. I'll call that 40,000 feet, which means the moon is 6 times further away than we are right now. And we can just barely detect that there is a bright red dot there. So I ask you, how far away is the moon from Earth? Okay, and so anyone who would like to argue that Google's sweet interface of our reality isn't anywhere close to accurate, you could simply take all the numbers we used and divide by 1,000 to roughly, very roughly ballpark this experiment. Let's just divide everything by 1,000. If you divide everything by 1,000, what you're going to end up with is an object that is 79 miles, heck, I'm generous, I'll call it 80 miles in diameter at 240 miles. Could you see with your naked eye an object 80 feet in diameter at 240 miles? Could it be done? And actually, I'm sure there's people that are a lot better at math than I'll ever be. You could do a cool clip and work on some of the things I've shown here. The point is, that when you really critically begin to look at things, you find problems. And I know what I said about the moon is very hard to accept. When I first began to realize what was going on, I didn't know what to think. I thought, man, I got to quit doing this. But the fact is that if you keep at it and you critically think and you do not accept what you've been handed, you will come to understand that there is a whole other reality that is not anything, does not even resemble the reality you've been handed. And it should not be a surprise. I mean, look at what the news does to us all the time. Look at all the false flag attacks. Look at the endless lies. Okay, in closing, I put up an article about
All right,
spring.
I'm going to stop it there. And John, can you hear me? Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So what I want to say about that is, and I've shown other articles where I've seen that they're saying, oh, maybe the moon is in our own atmosphere, not where we thought it was. And so if they're saying, if they're telling us lies about the moon, they're probably telling us lies about outer space and planets and our universe. Don't you think they could be telling lies about any of that? So why do you suppose, if that's all a lie, why do they try so hard to make us believe there's some Area 51 where there might be UFOs and aliens, and UFOs being interplanetary alien in nature? Because even though they don't tell us, they keep the lie going by keeping it secret and making us think, oh, it's true, because they're hiding it. What do you think?
Well, I think the facts that they're telling us that the moon is 238,900 miles away is fugazi. It's fake. The moon is not that far away. I think Crow displayed that with, very poignantly, that a quick search with the Google Maps, you can see that would be impossible to see with the naked eye. Totally impossible. 238,900 miles. And not to stray off the topic, but to say that they would tell us such a grand lie. Well, what did we just find out? That a sitting president that they've told us all this time was an American citizen and told us we were all crazy, is officially out of his own mouth, born in Kenya. And we did have a president that was not of this country. So, I mean, that's the grandest lie of all. So to say that they fudged the moon numbers, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, just logically.
And that's just one of the many things. What do you think about interplanetary aliens? Do you think that's something that's real?
No, I do not. I think there's a spiritual world. I think there are other dimensions, most definitely. I don't think there's any blue avians talking to Corey Good and or David Wilcock at all. I think that they're disinfo to say the least, but that's just an opinion. It's just an opinion, and I think that when you're talking about the moon, I think it's imperative, if we have any Democrats or demon rats in the audience, that we let them know just where space actually begins. Let's just break it down into simplest terms. We've got the troposphere from 6 to 20 kilometers, and then we graduate up into the stratosphere at 50 kilometers for weather balloons, things like that. Then we graduate up to the mesosphere for the meteors. Oh, by the way, China can give you a meteor show if you have the money, and they can name a star after you and place it in the sky that looks just like a real star. Oh, and by the way, China's launching a false moon, guys. So if they've had the technology to launch a moon that's brighter and bigger than our own moon, what do you think we're looking at now? I mean, that's just, neither here nor there. But then you graduate to the thermosphere, where we have the space station. Yeah, the ISS. 245 miles up, and then even past that, we get into the exosphere. So, as far as I know, when they send up Sophia, there's that word again, that special purpose shuttle.
I'll mention something about that. Before you talk about the shuttle, I'll talk about Sophia just a little bit with what I know, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. That's, perfect spot for it.
So we will get into the aliens deal, because this is why we're here. But what he's saying, what all the stuff that John is saying is really good information on what could we really be dealing with. And of course, many of us won't ever really know until we go to outer space ourselves. But it is really fun for us to go through this and think about it and find truth and pray for truth. But Sophia is now, I know I had John on Thursday, and so John was saying something about Sophia that he knew more than me. But what I understand is Sophia was like a god that supposedly created the archons, which are, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but there's supposed to be some hierarchy
Giant
of
spiders.
Well, yeah. Then of course they're demonic. We know that. But when it comes to who's telling the story, right? But anyway, supposedly the archons wrote the Bible about ignorant, or for ignorant Jews or whatever. But Sophia was their creator, and so Sophia has what I'm getting at is, regardless of how much we know about Sophia, so there's a point to Sophia, right? There's a point that we're bringing up the fact that the names matter, just like calling that new computer, that's the supercomputer that's coming out, Aurora, or calling this spaceship Sophia. Go on about. So what about the spaceship Sophia?
Well, Sophia, all the information you can find from guys much smarter than me, Robert Bassano and Crow 777 in the early days. One of his first interviews, or among the first, they talked about the Kármán line, the official line where space begins, and they talked about this special purpose shuttle that supposedly took up, I don't know, something like 15,000 pounds of a payload that couldn't even fit in the back of the Sophia itself, if in fact this was even real. They talk about how every rocket that goes up has a maximum altitude of 100, up to 100 miles into space, when apparently the ISS is 240 miles up. So there's a problem. And then he couldn't even fit the payload into Sophia. And they went on to say that maybe actually there are no satellites, and there's just a lot of hot air balloons up there holding things up inside the dome. Every rocket goes up, takes that angle. Everybody likes to go to Kennedy Space Station and say, yeah, we saw something happen. Yeah, you saw something go up in the air and take a curve out of sight. You didn't see anything go straight up, ever, They have, Crow shows the rocket that stops abruptly when it gets to the top of, quote unquote, the dome. We see every rocket take that curve, you know what I mean? And then we just forget about it. It goes out of sight, out of mind, and then we get fed nice Star Wars images and, underwater images, and, everybody just goes about their day and considers it reality.
Well, and that's because we've only ever known so much and been taught so much, and then they're even good at making us believe what we are told, because they make it sound good, like. Right. And hold on, I accidentally did something on someone, and they're asking what I did, and I've been mean to. It was an accident, because I right-click things on accident when I mean to click normally, because I have a mouse pad on the computer that I need to turn off, and I haven't done it yet. So that is back to normal. But anyway, yeah, we're told all these things. We're told this is what it is, and they make the math sound like, I think I'm pretty smart. They make the math sound like it makes sense, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then you can't, I argued against a lot of this stuff for a long time, and I still don't know, right? But the more I look at it, the more I say, okay, I need to look at, like what Crow says. If you just start opening up your mind and say, maybe I don't know. And that's kind of where I got with, I've never really quite believed in interplanetary aliens, but I wasn't ever saying I didn't believe in it. And so I just wanted to show real quick. I did do a video, guys, and I'm plugging myself because this is my own channel, but I did this video called Vampires, Werewolves, and Aliens. And it's exploring,
that was a good one.
Exploring the underworld. And there's two parts, but the first part is more about the aliens or the vampires and the werewolves. And part two is about the aliens. And I do have a lot of my sources on here, and they're interesting. But most of all, what I found amazing that I hadn't learned before was the amount of times that people have talked about having an abduction. And I've got a website up here that's called alienresistance.org and CE4 testimonies. And that has a lot of testimonies about people who've been abducted and the way it happens to them and what happens to them during the abduction. And it all is exactly like a lot of the rituals you'll see in a satanic or a satanic ritual, known satanic, or even just seances, summoning the dead, or other types of demonic, just new age or even demonic activities. And if the rituals are so much similar, then, and yet they're still trying to, there's deception, there's mind control, there's trauma, kind of like they do with MK Ultra, right? They're going to traumatize you and then try to mind control you and deceive you.
Right.
Then how could they possibly be superior evolved beings? And then again, saying evolved leads us back to believing in evolution. What say you, John?
Well, I think there's a lot of valid points there. First being, werewolves are real because I am a werewolf, And seriously, I don't know. The little green guy from Jetsons could show up tomorrow and prove me wrong about these aliens. But I'm more inclined to believe that werewolves and vampire-like people are more likely to exist than blue avians because, and I say this because we know about gene splicing. We know they're encoding DNA onto computers. We know that they are manipulating aborted babies and living babies, and they're playing with gene splicing all the time. We've heard about the minotaurs or the unicorns, or I mean, if Atlantis was real, and there was this advanced civilization where there's many arguments that Atlantis indeed was real and way more advanced than us, how far is it beyond the pale to think that they did not clone people, that they did not manipulate genes and create monsters or animals mixed with man? So to say that there's some lizard people in the caves, half lizard, half people, I don't think is that far of a stretch with technology the way it is today. I mean, that's just me opinion.
Well, so when we are agreeing so far on that, of course. And so what some people have said, and what some ufologists, which is a ufologist, have noticed, that there are a lot of people that they didn't want that the scientists didn't want to come out and admit, but there's a lot of people that when abducted, when they called out to Jesus, or and I'm talking in faith. They didn't just say Jesus because, oh, holy Jesus, what's happening to me? They were calling out in faith to Jesus. Then the abduction ended right then and there, right as that was happening. And that, to me, was proof in my mind that this is not an interplanetary thing, that this is in fact demonic.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know the spirit realm is real. I don't think that's up for debate, but I think that I'm in the school of thought with Crow 777 and Jason Linger when they say, or some of their guests have said, that all the things we see in the sky, all these fantastical ships, they're all terrestrial. They're all man-made. They would like us to think they're coming from outer space, but our technology, we have no idea the ships that they have and the cloaking technology. All the things that we're seeing, they're probably reverse engineered from, I don't know this for certain, but I would think that there's some great minds out there, some black ops outside of NASA. NASA's our Walt Disney space program. If it's for the masses, it's for the people that are still asleep. It's a nice show, and there might be a lot of truth in there. I don't know, but I know there's a lot of fiction. That's a fact. Yeah, because we've caught them in CGI trickery and/or CIA trickery. But I think that all these ships we're seeing, and I think there's more going on under the ocean as far as water to aircrafts that can disappear inside of the ocean and never be seen again in laboratories that we don't even know about because they're so deep and so cold that, we would get the bends if we tried to go down there. We would, I think there's enough video evidence of things coming up out of the water and going back into the water from high altitudes to say that there's something going on.
Yeah, I think I had video somewhere of, I did. I don't think, it might have been, it's probably that same video that I just showed, where it would have been that same aliens and werewolves and vampires, where I show where a UFO goes straight into a volcano. Just fly straight into it, and there's no explosion.
Right.
There's no explosion.
Yeah. And how would we know unless we traversed to the top of that volcano and jumped into the lava what's going on in there,
Yeah, well, and the fact that there isn't like some big splash of light or even some sudden, as big as it was going into that volcano, it was the size of the whole of the volcano, right? And so it would cause some kind of light or more lava to flow out, and nothing. Just like you said, going into water and coming out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a slow drip because we all know about programming in the movies. They've shown us with the Terminator and Skynet. They've showed us with, Signs and Mel Gibson. But one of the bigger movies on Netflix, I forget the name of it, is about a guy who's recruited by some kind of space agency. I'm sure it concerns the Vector somewhere and the living snakes in the sky or whatever they are doing. But the premise of the movie is this guy signs away all his rights, and he goes and he becomes like half whale, and he can swim with super speed, and he can hear, and he becomes this like albino, half human, half sea creature, like almost like the Nemo that I heard Cliff High talk about on Jenny Moonstone's channel, the old ancient water people, the people that came from the sea, maritime law. I think it's all connected with the sea and water. It's just a thought, and this movie kind of is showing us, programming us to accept the fact slowly that people are going to be combined with like mermaids and fishes, and it's just normal because it's natural evolution. And maybe it is. I don't know, but I think they're presenting it to us slowly, and by the time our children get older, they'll probably have friends that are half dolphin.
Well, and I agree with you on that because, if you look at scripture, you can find where it says that. I was even reading in, I don't memorize scripture. So what was I looking in? It was...
I got my Bible.
Romans 1, I think 23 to 27, somewhere around there. Look in there and see if you, and read it on your own while I just blather, because I'm going to show something real quick. I made this 1 minute video way back, guys, but it's kind of funny because it talks about the programming that they want with aliens and everything. And so I'm going to play it really quick while you look for that. But look at somewhere around 23 to 27, I think, where I read that and I saw, this sounds like when they were this sounds like the days of Noah, or creating minotaur or other animals. And I said to my friend, because they were messing with beasts like that. And he goes, yeah, I know. And I'm like, I love it when other people confirm that. So I'm just going to play 1 minute, guys, 1 minute long. This is funny, though.
Right? This is the moment when space aliens land with ray guns and are threatening all of us, and we all band together like you see in the movies. This is it, and yet that's not somehow happening.
Hold on a second, but it's not.
Right,
For your average American at home, there are not space aliens coming out and saying, we're going to take you over.
Why was I created this way?
This is an intangible. So how do we help them understand?
Right.
Because it's not fair to put it that way.
I know. I guess I feel that it's the kind of thing where we should be able to band together. We should be able to access something really basic in our programming, our programming that just says existential threat, humanity, band together, and we're not doing that for some reason.
And there you have it, right? So that guy was saying is our program, and he feels like and he even says it out loud. He's like, it's almost like we need aliens to come in and swoop down and do something. And she's like, that's not what's going to happen. And he's like, but why isn't it in our programming? And so, yeah, what did you find in that scripture?
Right. Well, I was looking at, and I was led here as kind of relates. I think it's important to know who were the sea people of the Bible before, we go any farther, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do.
These settlers were the Philistines of the Bible. The name Palestine is derived from the name Philistine. So Palestine comes from the word Philistine, which are the sea people. A century ago, after the settlement of the sea people, the Egyptian empire declined in power and influence. So the sea people are the result of the Egyptian empire declining in power, according to the Bible. These seafaring Philistines and the hill tribes of Hebrews battled each other for the control of Canaan. The sea people and any other groups of aggressive seafarers who invaded eastern Anatolia, Syria, Palestine, Cyprus, and Egypt toward the end of the Bronze Age, especially in the 13th century, they are held responsible for the destruction of old powers such as the Hittite Empire. So it goes on to say who defeated the sea people. Ramses also relates how in the second year of his reign he defeated these people in a naval battle off the coast of Egypt. Ramses allowed the sea people's warship and their supply and cargo vessels to approach the mouth of the Nile, where he had a small Egyptian fleet positioned in a defensive formation. So there was a battle with these sea people and the Egyptians in the times of Ramses, according to the Bible.
Okay. So
that's just what I was led to.
So is Ramses like a person or a fallen angel or
Ramses was a pharaoh.
just a human.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as far as we know, these pharaohs might have been, altered to be the kings of their time. I don't know, but I would imagine that the pharaohs were more than average men. They were men of renown, of some sort of intelligence, intellect, and or clones. I don't know, but it says equally mysterious is the Sea People's motivation for ravaging the Mediterranean. So the Sea People had a motivation to ravage the Mediterranean, apparently. Opinions differ, but some historians believe they had been displaced from their homeland by famine and natural disasters. So they were looters, it sounds like. Whatever their origins, the Sea People returned to Egypt in the mid-12th century BC, intent on conquest. So these people had a lust for power. They had a lust for dominance, it sounds like, the wording here. And the Egyptians fought against them, and Ramses defeated them. He's accredited, according to Wikipedia, as defeating the Sea People. And the Egyptians went into power from there.
Okay, so does that have anything to do with Atlantis? Because I don't know I really don't know, so I'm asking questions for real.
To do with what?
Atlantis? Is this about, or is it not?
Atlantis. I think this is... let's see, I don't want to misspeak, so let me just give me a quick search here. Atlantis, we'll look at the timeline, and because
some
I'm
people,
an idiot, I don't know.
No, you're not. Some people think Atlantis is still around, and I've seen people say, oh, it's modern day Israel, right? It never went under the sea, and some people say it did, and maybe it perhaps what you're saying could have always. Now, you guys, we're totally speculating on this. We're not. This is no. Oh, guys, this is fact. I'm speaking fact to you. We don't know. We don't have a lot of facts around here.
Well, it says, according to this, says Atlantis is a fictional island mentioned within allegory of the hubris nations of Plato's works, where it represents the antagonist naval power that besieges ancient Athens. So we're talking in the time of Athens and Greece and Plato. It says a pseudo-historic embodiment of Plato's ideals stated in the Republic. Plato's book, The Republic, or his thesis or writing or whatever you want to call it. So I'm thinking, like anything else, like even our own Bible, because I think it's important to mention that the King James Bible is not the only Bible. There were many versions before it that were edited in the Council of Nicaea by Emperor Constantine. There were Dead Sea Scrolls, the Psalms of Mary, Mary Magdalene. They were all removed. And we were given a Google edited version of the Bible, which I still read to this day, and I take for what it's worth. But I also look to the Dead Sea Scrolls for information. But they're saying the Atlantis. They're saying it's a nice story and it wasn't real, but we know that Snopes tells us things aren't real that are real. So I don't know if Atlantis was real. I'm looking at pictures under the sea right now that look real to me. They look like Roman Colosseums at the bottom of the sea. So there was something there, a huge, off the coast of I don't know, a lot of different places. Let's look here. It says, oh boy, Atlantis, placing it in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So
no, that certainly is up for debate, because I've seen many people. Like I said, I just found an article. I'm not leaning one way or the other, right, on where it is. But I had just talked about an article that says it's modern day Israel, right? Who knows? I mean, that could be because what I do believe is Atlantis was real, but everybody thinks that our technology is new. And here's where I'm going to quote Ecclesiastes 1:9, which is one of the few scriptures I do have memorized, that says, what has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. We look at things like the Tower of Babel. We look at things like the days of Noah, and we say, well, God wasn't just trying to clean the earth from some crummy humans. He knew humans were crummy, because that almost doesn't make sense. It's hard for us to understand. It makes more sense when we look to the Nephilim and the fallen angels. And that's almost common knowledge amongst most people, that the fallen angels mating with the human women created the Nephilim, and that was a corruption to the DNA line. And that's, again, where I've said before, I think it leads to, and it could be wrong, it leads to a bloodline that they want to bring back the Antichrist on, and that's why we have such an interbreeding with the royals, because they have to keep that bloodline. And while that bloodline is still shared amongst other people that aren't Nephilim or anything like that, that's just the corrupted DNA. that Rh negative, while that bloodline is shared by others, their particular bloodline, just like we can track the bloodline back to Jesus and before to Abraham and any whatever that's how they kept track of everything, was the bloodlines. This bloodline is extremely important, I think, to the royals, and it's the corrupted bloodline, because we don't see in any other animal or anything else on earth that has two blood types where it's Rh negative or Rh positive. There's no other animal that we see that with. And so if that's a corrupted bloodline, then that's why I say that the technology's already been taught to us once before. Abortion was taught back when we read Enoch. Just go to Enoch and you'll see abortion, right, metalsmithing, makeup, a lot of other things.
Well, absolutely. It's such a good point.
Uh-oh, we might have lost you. Are you there? Oh, no. We may have lost John. He's gone. He's gone frozen. But maybe he'll come back, and we'll see if he can come back. But anyway, guys, I'm glad that you guys are interacting with each other. I wanted to point out this page, just in case you're thinking that aliens are interplanetary, which by all means, I hope there's plenty of room for any kind of opinions here. But if you are thinking that they are interplanetary, I would recommend looking at this page that says alienresistance.org. And these are guys that are ufologists that were looking at the normal scientific way of aliens, and they were saying, okay, we want to hear more about this. And then they started finding out that people were calling out in the name of Jesus in faith, not just saying, oh, no, Jesus. They were saying in faith that, Jesus saved me from this, and then the abduction would stop. And they had never heard this, so they started asking around, and they started saying, okay, are other people saying this? And they started finding that other people were saying that when they called out in Jesus, that they could end the abduction. And so they said, well, why aren't people reporting about this? Well, here's the really sad thing, is when people weren't reporting about it, guys, it was because that they didn't want to look funny in the scientific community. They didn't want people to disbelieve them. They didn't want to be made to look dumb. And so here you have these guys, all these scientists and scientific researchers and ufologists covering up the fact that they can call out to Jesus in faith and end the abduction. And here's a whole bunch of testimonies, guys, that you can look at. And I find it extremely interesting to look at the ritual, to look at what's going on, when it happens with an abduction, and say, you know what, it probably really is not an alien from another planet, because if they were evolved, why would they need to do a bunch of scientific research on us, including traumatic things like sticking needles in our eyeballs or removing certain organs, or another thing they'll do in these rituals is they'll impregnate women and cause abortions. And it happens all very fast, so I'm not sure that they're really getting them pregnant and that they're really aborting that children. But it's just a freaky thing, and it sounds scary. It doesn't sound like anybody that's evolved. It doesn't sound like anyone that's going to come save the planet. Like if you watch the X-Files, and the last one, and she's like, oh, she's going to save the planet with alien DNA. I mean, why do we need alien DNA to save the planet if all they're going to do, if all our future evolved states are just going to go from planet to planet where there's any kind of living animal or being and just probe them and poke them and prod them and impregnate them and abort their children? I mean, that doesn't seem to me like an evolved state of being, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's evolved. But I also don't believe in evolution. And I personally have come to a place where it's obvious to me that this is not an interplanetary thing, that we probably don't even have planets in outer space. There's probably nothing like that going on, and it's demonic. The rituals are the same, the treatment is the same, the deception is the same, all the things they do in order to create it. Somebody's out there casting spells, and it's happening to other people. So I would say that I believe that I know what's going on, and I believe that if you don't have to, everyone here knows the Bible is real. So I know that there's people in here that are kind of trolling, and I let it go because this is my channel and I can moderate my own channel, and I haven't asked anyone else to get rid of anybody. But if you don't want to believe in the Bible, then you're not taking the final red pill that you should take. You don't have to believe it, but if you started reading it and looking serious as to what Scripture says, if you were to seriously look at what it says in Enoch, and if you were even to look at some of the other books, not out of belief that they're telling the truth, but just out of educating yourself, you would come up with answers that you couldn't come up with without reading the Bible. And so you can say it's fake all day long, but I challenge you, if it's fake, you read it and you do some research on your own, and then you come back and you tell me what's going on with that. You tell me how you can prove that it's anything other than legit. But if you're too afraid and you just want to talk crap about it, if you just want to say, oh, I'm just going to talk crap about the Bible because I'm afraid of the truth, well, then don't say anything else about it. Just do your own thing and be quiet. Because unless you're willing to seek the truth, unless you're willing to learn, unless you're willing to be open-minded, nobody cares what you have to say, guys. They only want to know if you want to have a brain that's going to open up to the truth. So take your opinion about what you think about the Bible. If it's not helpful, if you want to say, hey, Aaron, I'm not sure I believe the Bible is legitimate. Do you think you could lead me into why? Do you think you could help me understand why I should trust it or why I should believe it? No, you come in here and you drop your opinion as if it's a fact. And by the way, it's not. It's an opinion. So take your opinions and put them into legitimate truth and research, and I'll listen to you. But I don't listen to people who just drop their opinions as truth and don't have anything behind it. You have nothing behind what you guys are saying. You're sitting here bitching and moaning about your opinion. Your problems are yours. But I don't have problems with the Bible because I have certainly read it. I have certainly done my research. And you're not asking me questions you want answers to. So until you leave here and spend a few weeks on your own, spend a few weeks on your time doing what you need to do to research to answer your questions, don't ask me. You need to find out. Don't come here and be a troll because you don't like what you want to hear, right? You can go do anything you guys want to do. You can believe anything you want to believe. But keep asking questions and stop assuming your opinion is truth. So with that being said, I'm going to try John back. John, let's see if you can hear him. John, are you there?
Yo, hey,
he's back.
Aaron.
So,
hey, what happened?
Well, I don't know. I think you went frozen, and then we couldn't hear you. And then I decided to have a little diatribe about some of the people in the chat and just, have a little conversation with them and let them know what I feel about some of their comments not being fact, only simple-minded, not simple-minded. I'm sure they're intelligent people, but they're coming into simple opinions, dropping the opinions as fact, but we can move on from that. So I don't know if you remember where you left off with what you were going to say.
No, where did I end off at?
Well, I said something about, in Enoch, that the fallen angel, we know it's common knowledge, the fallen angels have come and bred with women, and they brought abortion, and they brought metalsmithing and other technologies to people in the far past beyond now. And I think you went to say that's a good point or something.
Oh, yeah, I think I went on to talk about John the Revelator, and, not John the Baptist, not John the Apostle, but John the Revelator, who stood on the Isle of Patmos and had his vision. And he said in the end times that God allowed the Antichrist power over the world. God allowed him control of the airwaves. Now, how did John know about airwaves in the time of Patmos, or Wi-Fi, as it were? How did he see these if he was not a visionary? How did he see the chariots of fire leaving the cities, aka brake lights and people in traffic jams fleeing this coming doom? I was saying that all the cafeteria Catholics and everybody like to believe in the happy parts of the Bible, but if you believe in the Bible, you have to believe in the whole thing, and you have to believe in Revelation. And then that's not a very happy chapter. Shit goes sideways real fast, and it's not a pretty sight, as far as what people are doing on the face of the earth and how wicked men have become. So, it's no surprise that all these things are happening and all this satanic stuff is going on and people are killing. Infanticide is happening, and, people want to drink blood, apparently. I don't know, but
the blood ritual has a lot to do with summoning demonic activity. The blood ritual is very important to summoning demons for them. There's a lot to that, and there's also a lot to when the reason adrenochrome is so sought after is because the younger the child, the more this hormone can be produced, and so that's kind of
it's interesting how quick people are to talk about aliens and blue chickens. But, the wolf is always at the door. The devil is always right beside you, whispering in your ear. It just takes a little nudge. If you don't think that the demons are real and these people can become possessed with just Satan come in me, just one of those deals. I don't think really the blood is necessary. I think it's more of a ritual and, a show of, their demonic support. It don't take much for you to let the devil get in and let you start throwing hands real fast or stab somebody in the stomach. I mean, that's the devil, It happens every day in this town. He's running wild. There's no, the Antichrist ain't hiding behind the tree. He's right behind you, buddy.
Yeah, somebody told me something interesting today. I'm going to share that they said that they had some kind of experience with this demonic activity because of MK Ultra pushed on her as a child and some of these other things. And she said something so interesting that made it make perfect sense. She said that now hear me out, guys. She said a reptilian helped her. And I'm like, okay, at first I'm like, what do you mean? Well, she says, well, a reptilian had helped me. And so she's like, hear me out. She said, so what happened? And a reptilian's being demonic, guys. I'm not going with interplanetary and aliens. It's fine if you believe that, but I don't. It's fine if you do. But anyway, regardless, interplanetary reptile or demonic reptilian. So she's telling me, she goes, and it would bow down to me. She goes, but then she had learned what was going on is because of what the rituals they were doing on her, that they had set a demonic entity to her. She was speaking on the hierarchy, and that this was higher up, the demonic or the demon that they had, I don't know, how do you say it, placed with her or put on her, was higher up than the reptilian. So when it was bowing to her and speaking to her and telling her things, it was actually bowing to the demon that they had ritualistically placed on her. Does that make sense? I mean, how interesting is that and creepy?
Well, it makes total sense because we know that the devil could take any form he wants. And I think people get caught up, like they say, the devil's in the details, right? Well, let's dissect that statement. The devil's in the details. Well, what are the details of Genesis? Adam's first wife was Eve. Well, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they may beg to differ and say his first wife was Lilith. But we're not going there. If his first wife was Eve and the snake was in the garden, was the snake an allegory? Was the snake just a way to say that the snake is very cunning? It's very fast, and it will bite you, even no matter how much you love it. It will turn on you, and you will get bit. And I think the snake could be a reptile. It could be a frog. It could be a fish. I don't know. You know what I mean? Could you shut that door for me? Thanks. I think, it's just, it matters on the person. And myself, let's take me as an example. I could be the devil tomorrow. There's been enough people to piss me off that I could go on a murderous rampage and take the heads of a few people that I got right in mind right now, but without prayer and the Lord to soothe, to go to and turn to, what else is there? Dark and light. There's dark and light. It's very simple. Very simple. I think the devil could come to you as one of your family members and try to have you do something you wouldn't normally do. I think he's very cunning. Very cunning.
Yep, and Brenda, who goes by Dr. T-Pose on YouTube, she says something that's exactly right, and it's very important. God is omnipresent. The devil is not. He cannot be everywhere at all times, and that's why he's working so hard with his demons and minions and fallen angels and, his hierarchy. They are working hard. They're working almost overtime. They are really... Oh, yeah. They really are toiling, and the point I bring that up to is because God is still overall. God is still bigger than anything demonic. And so we sit here and we say, okay, I am being abducted by aliens. Well, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to tell somebody, I know this isn't going to be easy, but if they're a believer, it might be a little easier. But if they're not, if I could end those abductions, would you want to know how to do that? And they're going to say yes. And if they could find a way through Jesus Christ and speaking Jesus' name and the abductions ended, well, I think they would be a believer as of that day. I don't think it would take much after that, to say, oh, I believe, because that would end something that's been terrifying for them and traumatizing to them and probably ruin their lives completely. Now, here's my question, I wonder, which I don't think you can answer, John, but I bet you'll have an opinion. Why on earth are there not more alien abductions? Is it just something to fill some disinformation out there? Is it just something to make us think they're interplanetary? Or do you think there's something about those people they abduct that's important, or something else? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all the above. I don't think you could really pigeonhole because we have no idea how far technology has gone. We have no idea. And to say that there is a black ops out there taking people in the middle of the night and giving them some great, fantastical CGI show while they probe them, or, figure out why they have good eyesight or why their genes are this, or, you hear about all these stories about them being on some lab table somewhere and they can't move. It just sounds like they were drugged up, and through all the programming and the little gray men we've seen since the 60s, what else are they going to go to except Close Encounters of the Third Time in E.T.? What else are they going to go to? I don't even think it's really even demonic. I think it's just bad people doing high-tech things to other people. It's all terrestrial, and it's of this earth, and it may be demonic in spirit. I don't know. I think everything you said was pretty much could be part of the answer, if not all of the answer. Like, you hear about people being taken through walls and somebody standing at the end of the bed. If you were an alien and you had this high-tech stuff to remove people, levitate them up into the sky, and do all these things, why would you have to stand in front of their bed? Why would you have to stand in a silky gray shiny suit in front of their bed? Why wouldn't you just stay up there and beam them up, Scotty? It don't make sense. If you're a logically thinking person, why would you stand in the room? Why would you have to come through the wall? Why wouldn't you just evaporate them up in a nanosecond if you're so goddamn advanced? You know what I mean? I think it's of this world, and that's just an opinion.
That is exactly right. And I said some of that too earlier because I've read some of these testimonials, and I'll try to show that again. These testimonials are really good, guys, because they talk about that. They say, hey, this is what we went through, and you look at it and you're like, wow, that's very, very much an alien abduction sounding. I'm sorry, not alien. That's a very demonic.
They're all the same.
Yeah, it's very demonic sounding. It's very just like, okay, this is nothing. It sounds like a seance, like something you could do at a seance. It sounds like something that you see walking through walls. Exactly what you just said. I put that up in that video too, and I know you saw, but it's been a while. There's a guy that was talking about a seance, and they're trying to summon demons, and even Satan himself. And that's what he said is what they'll do is in a seance they'll bring back loved ones or people that you know, right, and make you think that they've brought the dead back, but really they haven't brought the dead back. Yeah. What they've done is they've said, they've gotten a demon to play it like they are that dead one. That dead person, and make you believe, and that's how they get you. They get you by saying, look at what we can do. We can bring the dead back. And then you're like, oh my gosh, because you love your sister, right? And you missed your sister. I just wanted to say goodbye. And what does the Bible say about summoning and any talking to mediums and all that stuff? Don't do it. That's the devil's playground. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I think there's a fine line there. I think you're absolutely right, but I think a good way, it harkens me back to the Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil. And make no mistake about it, I love the Rolling Stones, but Mick Jagger's just a demon. He's a dancing imp. And he's a great musician and a great singer, but he's a demon. We live in a world where Fox News calls a pervert like Hugh Hefner a vanguard and one of the greatest artists of our time when he just dated little girls. And, we worship these people, even on our own major networks. And then, Sympathy for the Devil, the lyric is, I was there when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain, referring to when Satan offered Jesus everything if he would just bow down to him. And if you believe the Bible, and I don't think Jesus ever doubted, had a moment of doubt and pain in his natural life. I think he looked at the devil and said, get bent, dude. Like, I'm good. I don't think Jesus ever sat there and had a moment of, oh, God, should I take the world or should I love my Father? I don't think that ever happened. I think that was another editing of the Bible, and we should be very careful how we read our Bible, especially the King James Version. Although it is my favorite version, I do not believe it is the end-all, be-all of the knowledge that has been hidden from us. So, I'm not big into satanic seances and stuff because if the devil came to me in the form of like my late wife and said, take my hand, I might do it. If I believed it was her, I would have to pray hard.
Yeah. And they know that. They know that.
And they know, they do. And these demons will prey on you from your dead relatives, and you do have to be careful with the Ouija boards and stuff. And I know you don't agree with it, but I do have a lot of girlfriends in the tarot world that are more of the light, and of the good hidden knowledge. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're messing around with seances and black magic and cutting yourself, and I'm not with any of that, but I can't negate hidden knowledge. I strive for it. I look for it. I don't know what's real and what isn't, but I do find truth in other places,
So you say truth. I mean, hopefully. And what I would also say is, guys, no matter what I say, and no matter what John says, and no matter what anybody in the chat says, you can go to God for truth. You don't have to trust us. You don't have to believe anything we say. And in fact, that's kind of good if you don't, because like in the beginning when I was doing this research, John, I was like, oh, that's BS, or oh, I don't believe that, many times. And what I did is I did learn to kind of humble myself, and instead of saying, oh, wow, that's a silly thing, I started to say, I don't know, I just don't know, because anymore I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm just really not sure.
Well, yeah, and that's perfect, because what I like to say to people all the time when they're like, well, you don't even know if God was real, and God's just another version of Zoroaster, and Zoroaster's another version of the Emerald Tablets, and the Emerald Tablets another version of Egypt, and so it's all made up, and the Abrahamic, it's all lies. I mean, no, there's a little bit of truth in all of it. If you want to go back to the Native Americans before they even knew God, they knew about goodness, and they knew about loving their family. I hate to go back to that, but I live my life by 10 simple rules. They're called the 10 Commandments. It's like, be good to your mom, don't kill anybody, don't steal. They're pretty basic human rights, like keep holy the Lord's Day, don't kill anybody, don't covet your neighbor's shit, don't take stuff from they're pretty basic. I think if you live by the 10 Commandments and you, like you say, trust God, you can't go wrong.
Right, and that's who I go to, right? Because it's really hard, and it's funny, guys, and I'll mention this really briefly. John says I'm not trying to go down this topic because we will do this another night. We've agreed about that because we are on an hour anyway, and we will do this another night because it's the whole point of what everybody says. I should be able to listen to anything and without fear, right? Because if it's not true, God will show me that, and if it is true, God will show me that. But some things John was talking to me tonight about before we went on the line, I was like, well, I just don't think that's true. Like I immediately was like, I just shut it down. But if I'm not willing to listen, and that's true, and I admit that, and I love that I admit it, because it's not that I think that John is doing anything wrong about looking at anything else. In fact, that's good. You should look at these things if you're going to learn about them. You shouldn't just go, well, I'm not going to look at that. Now, well,
it's about Mary Magdalene.
Now, we're going to do it another night because I want to be prepared, and here's why.
Yeah, no, I know.
Here's why I want to be prepared, and we're not going to bring it up tonight. Why I want to be prepared is because if I do believe it's not true, it's not something I've researched, and I want to have the chance to go, okay, now I do need to research this. Now I do need to look at it, and I'm going to go look at it. And then I can't say, well, and then guess what? Now I can't say, oh, well, I don't look at that, but I think that's wrong. Because that's exactly what I just told the people in the chat not to do. So I will look at it, and we're not going to do it tonight because I want the chance to research it and have my opinion from a standpoint where I'm prepared with, well, Scripture says this or this says that. And it doesn't matter. At that point now we're having a good debate, and we both have a really good way to back each other up or back ourselves up. And sometimes we'll come to an agreement and sometimes we won't. And we won't get mad because John has done nothing but come on here and had great conversation. He's had great conversation. He's had great stuff to say. He's brought his friends to here, and I think that is all good because it's easy to reach people who already are following Christ, John. It's not easy to reach people who aren't, and that's what we need to do.
Right.
And so I think that will be a great topic.
And you're helping me in my walk. Yeah.
Well, amen. Glory to God. And I think that topic, which we will do, I think next Sunday, that gives me a week to prepare. We will do that on Sunday, and it's going to be very controversial, guys. But guess what? Have I done anything less than controversy on my channel? And I bet John does controversy all day long. So we're two people that aren't afraid of controversy. In fact, we know that we need to speak up against and for certain things that are important, and they matter in defining who we are and defining the life we want to have for our children and our children's children and for all of you guys. So John, that being said, it is 8:04. It's gone by so fast, but I want to keep it back on this subject. Do you have anything else you want to say about aliens versus demons? That should be a movie.
No, just, say your prayers, eat your vitamin, and drink your milk, and, listen to Aaron Moffat, relax, and Lil Revel needs me, so yeah, I got to dip too.
When you dip, I dip, we dip. Isn't there a song like that?
You dip, we dip, we dip, and you
I don't
dip,
know.
we dip, we dip.
I dip, you dip, we dip. And we're obviously
There
so
it is.
up with the times, guys, because we're not like in our 40s, right? I mean, what?
Yeah, I'm pushing maximum ages.
Yeah, nah, not yet. John's got a lot more work to do on this world. So, John, with that, I appreciate you. I'm glad you came on. I'm glad that you
I
want
might
to.
go jam over Pat's. I might go jam over Pat's later, just so anybody knows if wants to hear some music.
So that means he's gonna go live for all the old people like me. That means he's gonna go live and play some music later.
Maybe. We gotta get a hold of whole guitar. I think he said he's gonna pick me up. I'm not sure, but yeah, yes. Tentatively, yes.
And other people are putting the rest of the lyrics to that song in the chat, and oh no, it's gotta stop now. All right, so guys, check out Revel. You know, his YouTube channel is fun, is different. If it's not to your tasting, it's not going to make him cry. But he's going to come on here next Sunday, and we're going to talk a new subject. It's going to be quite interesting. And hold on to your hats, children, because he's going to blow some of your minds. And you don't get mad. There's no getting mad on here. You just got to listen.
It's like Ghetto Jackass on the Revelators channel, but my adult self is only on Aaron Moffat.
Yeah, and he won't swear. He swears he won't swear.
Yes.
All right. Well, John, have a blessed night. And guys, everybody else, I'm going to just say goodnight all at once. Everybody have a blessed night. We appreciate you. We need you because you're the reason that we even have a channel, because there's people out there that care about what we have to say or do, whether it's playing music or speaking. So God bless you all. Me and John did say a prayer over everybody because we care about you. And if we said anything wrong, we just want you to forget we ever said it. And that includes the people that don't like the Bible or had opposing views, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with opposing views, guys. So God bless, and until next time, I will put up a raffle in the community page, guys, for the 2 Alamos. Okay, so just go check for that in like an hour or tomorrow. God bless, guys. Good night.
Hey. Lolax, everybody. Lolax.
Yep, and be well. Peace.
Peace.